Hi, this is New Time on Silkway TV channel. We introduce you with the most visible news and important events that happened throughout this week in Kazakhstan and Central Asia. More details on politics, economy, social and cultural life with opinions from the most recognizable experts of Kazakhstan and world. I'm Dorian Sagulov and this is what you'll see today. President Tokayev visited the Karmet metallurgical plant, which changed investors last year. What are the plans for the region's largest industrial complex? Azerbaijan is strengthening ties with Central Asia. What are Baku's ambitions in the region? The gathering of Great Steppe, Astana prepares to host the 5th Nomad Games. And let's start with Akorda. Head of State Kassym-Jomart Tokayev earlier this week held a meeting with the CEO of Kazatomprom national company. Mirjan Yusupov reported that the company's 2023 uranium production and sales volumes amounted to more than 21,000 and 18,000 tons respectively. It is worth noting that Kazatomprom is one of the world's largest producers of uranium, representing approximately 22% of global primary production in 2022. Following the meeting, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev emphasized the importance of geological exploration and the renewal of the resource base and instructed to continue work in this direction.
The head of state was also informed about ongoing projects aimed at expanding and renew the country's mineral resource base. As a result of this work, the company's reserves have increased due to the number 3 section of the Inkai deposit. The volume of this increase is estimated at 83,000 tons of uranium.
Over the past 5 years, uranium prices have surged by 233%, indicating a renewed interest in nuclear energy, according to a June report by Bloomberg. Kazakhstan, which currently supplies 40% of the world's uranium, is well positioned to capitalize on this trend. Uranium industry expert Aldiyar Tokhtarov notes that rising prices have driven increased investment in the sector. In an interview for New Time, he emphasized that Kazakhstan, with its well-established uranium mining industry, should now aim higher by expanding into the broader nuclear industry. To learn more about the current state of Kazakhstan's uranium sector, please take a look at the fragment of our interview. Okay, let us talk about this. So what is the current situation in this industry with investments?
That's a good question, and let's talk about the world uranium industry. So we see a big increase in the investment in the uranium sector, which is driven by the rapid increase of uranium price within recent 2 to 3 years, and we see a lot of investment companies who are willing to invest into uranium mining companies, as well as the nuclear power sector. So we see a great increase in the demand for nuclear power plants, which will require more uranium for their operation. And another big thing is the increase of interest from the investment fund into uranium as a commodity. So they select uranium as, there are some funds emerged which take uranium as an investment and take it to invest there in order to win or benefit on the increase of uranium price.
Before the interview, I found some interesting data, and I learned that Kazakhstan's uranium exports to the United States actually increased 6-fold in 2023 compared to 2022. May I ask you, what is driving this sharp increase? What is behind this?
So here we should note that exports to the country of the United States do not mean that it is the United States nuclear power utilities who will purchase this uranium. Uranium market is represented. Uranium market trade is represented at three major hubs in the West. One in the United States, Converdyn in Metropolis, another one is in Canada, and third one is in France. So uranium which is delivered to these hubs will be sold to all other companies in the world. So, for example, it goes to the United States, but it can be sold to a European company who have a conversion contract at this conversion facility at Converdyn in the United States, for example. So this is one factor, and another factor is that the United States have a great increase in their demand for nuclear power. So now they're looking to develop the nuclear power sector in the United States, which is also another driver for the increased demand.
Okay. In 2025, Kazakhstan will increase tax for uranium extraction. May I ask you, what potential consequences can we face in this aspect?
Okay, yeah. So in this aspect, it will definitely affect at the cost of uranium. So not the cost of production, but cost of the uranium, which goes as an end product, and it is just done in order to align the mining industry with the practices in the oil and gas industry, where such progressive tax is implemented for a long time already. And we had a really favorable tax regime for the mining sector, and especially uranium mining sector. And here, in order to for the budget to receive more funds from the profitable sectors, then such tax regime will be implemented on a step-by-step basis. So a slight increase next year, this year, and from 2025, 2026, there will be a more complex structure implemented here.
Okay, and last but not least, may I ask you, what needs to be done to fully unlock the potential of uranium industry for our country, for Kazakhstan?
That is a great question, and thank you for asking. So I will share my own opinion here.
Of course.
And in Kazakhstan, we have a great success story of Kazatomprom, which, thanks to the skilled management and to the dedication of that management, and greatly using the geological benefits or geological advantage of our country, managed to create the biggest uranium miner in the world, and to develop it from a very insignificant player in the market. So for now, I believe we have a very developed uranium mining sector, and we need to shift to the next stage where we develop the whole industry, nuclear industry, which includes fuel fabrication and fuel components production, non-uranium fuel components production, which will allow us to become an important player in the world. Another thing is that we need to forge partnerships with the most promising small modular reactor developers in the world, which will allow the long-term development of Kazakh nuclear industry, as well as there is a great market of radiopharmaceuticals, for example, which also can be developed, and basing on the success of Kazakh uranium mining sector, and you know that no other industry will be competitive enough with mining sector, but we need to use the profits we receive from the mining to develop our more technologically advanced industries and create value here, develop our own professionals.
Meanwhile, public discussions are underway in Kazakhstan regarding the construction of the country's first ever nuclear power plant. These discussions involve industry experts, government representatives, members of the public and the civil sector. This past Friday, the 19th round of hearings took place in Kazakhstan's largest city, Almaty, where participants debated the pros and cons of the project. Citizens had the opportunity to ask questions about the safety of the nuclear technologies, as well as the socio-economic implications of the NPP. At the end of June, President Tokayev announced that a referendum on the construction of the nuclear power plant will be held this fall. The exact date will be determined by the Kazakh government. We'll cover more on this in the upcoming episodes of New Time. This week also, the head of state went on a working visit to the Karaganda region, known as the industrial center of Kazakhstan and home to the country's largest coal basin. During the trip, President Tokayev visited the Karmet metallurgical plant. The management of the enterprise reported on projects worth over $3.5 billion. More about the plans of this key industrial complex under new leadership you will find in the following report. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev has promised to visit Karmet every year. The metallurgical plant was the first stop on the President of Kazakhstan's working visit to the Karaganda region. The plant's operations are currently under close scrutiny from both the President and the public. The new management, led by Andrei Lavrentiev, a shareholder of Kazakhstan Steel Group, took over last December, replacing the notoriously known ArcelorMittal Temirtau after a series of accidents and fatalities at the facilities.
We made the right decision by bringing in a local investor who actively got to work. The situation at the plant has significantly improved compared to what it was before. But there is no room for complacency. We can't afford to slow down. The main goal is to restore Karmet's former glory and address social issues. I know this work has already begun. I'll be visiting the plant every year to see its progress.
The new management provided detailed explanations on how they plan to restore Karmet's glory. The head of state was briefed on the operation of Blast Furnace number 3, which produces nearly 4 million tons of cast iron annually. Karmet is currently implementing projects with a total value of $3.5 billion, with plans to expand the reach and volume of domestic steel exports.
By the end of this year, we have plans for 3.5 million tons of steel. By 2028, we have a program which includes 5 million tons of iron ore concentrate, 9 million tons of coal and 5 million tons of steel. With the new production lines we are building, we'll be able to produce high-margin products for markets both in Kazakhstan and abroad.
The plant is already active in international markets. Last year, the enterprise sold 2.9 million tons of finished products, 2.1 million tons of which were exported to Russia, China, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyz Republic, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Georgia, Azerbaijan and Afghanistan. However, this export growth has come with environmental challenges, particularly in the city of Temirtau. To reduce harmful emissions, the company plans to switch the plant to gas within the next year.
While driving here, we noticed some improvements, but the problem persists, especially with the chemical waste that's still noticeable in the air, so I'm instructing you to keep working on this.
Ensuring the safety of workers and miners remains a top priority for both the government and the company. The mines have been equipped with updated respiratory systems, ventilations and preliminary degassing systems. The company has assured that by the end of the next year, all miners will be equipped with modern positioning systems that can track their location and health status in real time. Daurian Isagulov, New Time. Cooperation in Central Asia expands with new geopolitical players to join the discussions on the pivotal agenda of the region. President of Azerbaijan Ilham Aliyev, during his stay in Astana, being an honored guest of the 6th Consultative Meeting of the States of Central Asia, highlighted the growing strategic importance of his country's ties with an economically growing region. He emphasized particularly the deep historical, cultural and geopolitical connections between the parties, focusing on cooperation in security, transport and energy. New Times reporter Baljan Samigulina explored the activated relations between Central Asia and Azerbaijan. Please have a look.
Historically, Azerbaijan's diplomatic efforts were largely focused on resolving the Karabakh conflict and restoring its territorial integrity. Now, however, the focus has been shifting, experts in interview to Selkwe commented. With the Karabakh issue resolved and territorial boundaries re-established, Azerbaijani officials are turning their attention to strengthening the country's international stature. Today, one of the priorities of Azerbaijani diplomacy is the expansion and deepening of cooperation with geographically close states, especially with the countries of Central Asia.
Azerbaijan has embarked on a very interesting strategic reorientation. Azerbaijan now is looking to the east and specifically to Central Asia. This ambition of Azerbaijan to become more of a gateway to Central Asia is of course driven by energy considerations, but a second element is also related to Azerbaijan's ambition to supplant Turkey as the patron state and as a leader of the Turkic world. For this reason, Central Asia has much greater strategic significance for Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijan and Central Asian countries have a lot in common: a shared Soviet heritage, similar languages, and a mutual recognition of the importance of religion in public life. Additionally, the allies in both regions are keen to establish their roles in the evolving global landscape, striving to avoid excessive influence from any single global power. In its foreign policy, Azerbaijan is primarily focused on strengthening bilateral relations and remains cautious about relying on international organizations for solving issues related to security and socio-economic development. However, they do not include the Organization of Turkic States, which Azerbaijan places great hopes on in strengthening cooperation and integration with all Turkic-speaking countries, including those in Central Asia.
Azerbaijan is increasingly less a state in the Caucasus and more of a Central Asian state in terms of the characteristics of governance.
In recent years, particularly following the end of the Karabakh conflict, Azerbaijan's relations with Central Asian countries have significantly intensified. Between 2021 and 2024, Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev made multiple visits to all Central Asian nations and welcomed their leaders in Baku. Notably, he became the first head of state from outside the region to be invited as an honorary guest to the 5th and 6th consultative meetings of Central Asian leaders. The key areas for collaboration between Azerbaijan and Central Asia include transport, energy, investment and trade. While Azerbaijan's trade turnover with these countries currently stands under $1 billion, it is experiencing rapid growth.
Currently, the development of cooperation between Azerbaijan and the Central Asian countries is a priority in the framework of the foreign policy of the state. In recent years, relations between the Republic of Azerbaijan and the countries of Central Asia have been developing rapidly. As the President stated, Azerbaijan and Central Asian countries are united by centuries-old history, culture, religion, and common values. At present, Azerbaijan is developing relations with Central Asian countries both in bilateral format and in the format of regional interaction.
Key focus of Azerbaijan's partnership with Central Asian countries is the development of transport communications. Azerbaijan is keen to establish itself as a major regional and potentially global transport hub, while Central Asian nations aim to diversify their routes to markets in Turkey and Europe. Central to this cooperation is the so-called Middle Corridor. As experts predict, in the coming years, both sides will concentrate on modernizing transport infrastructure, particularly by expanding the capacity of the Trans-Caspian international transport route. Additionally, the implementation of fiber optic cables in the Caspian Sea and strengthening energy cooperation are also crucial aspects of this growing partnership. Despite ongoing challenges, Central Asian countries and Azerbaijan have a strong mutual interest in expanding their relations across various fields. While current levels of cooperation are relatively modest, there is considerable potential for growth fueled by the shared commitment of both sides. Scientists say the transit of goods from Central Asia is helping Azerbaijan realize its goal of becoming a key transport hub, and its economic projects with Central Asian nations are reinforcing Baku's reputation as a promising partner. Baljan Samigulina, New Time.
The US has delivered advanced computer services to Kazakhstan to support the new customs KEDEN IT system, which will replace the outdated Astana 1. The new equipment will help modernize Kazakhstan's custom infrastructure, enhancing data performance and security through automation and artificial intelligence technologies. According to experts, the introduction of the new system will speed up the processing of customs procedures and increase transparency. This, in turn, will create favorable conditions for businesses, attract more investors, and stimulate economic and foreign trade development.
We hope through this project to make trade in Kazakhstan and actually between Kazakhstan and its neighbors more efficient, less costly, and ultimately lead to a big increase in trade volumes. The reason this is important, we believe, is obviously it benefits the U.S. when we're trading with Kazakhstan and our companies, but obviously not only the United States benefits, all Kazakhstan's trading partners benefit. This improvement will make it possible to diversify trade for Kazakhstan. So it's more efficient and also more diverse.
The athletes who will represent Kazakhstan in the national sports at the 5th World Nomad Games have been selected. The event is set to take place from September 8 to 13 in Astana, the capital of Kazakhstan. The Games are expected to attract around 100,000 tourists from both Kazakhstan and abroad. More details about the much-anticipated sporting event in the following report.
Olympic Games stand aside. This September, Kazakhstan will host the 5th World Nomad Games. It is a 6-day event and Olympics for Central Asian cultures, the competition to celebrate traditional nomadic sports. This year, the World Nomad Games is to bring together around 4,000 athletes from over 90 countries. They feature unorthodox sports disciplines such as eagle hunting and bone throwing. The event is aimed to host 21 kinds of ethno sports, including various competitions for 97 medal sets.
Preparations are now in the final stages, with just 25 days left until the Games. We have received applications from 89 countries that have expressed their desire to participate and have sent their official entries. We are currently working with these countries. It is worth noting that the new sports were added to this year's Games, including Tinge Ilu, Asık-atı, Arkan Tartыс, and Alıptar Sayısı. These are new sports that were not featured in previous Games. The largest delegations are expected from Central Asia, Turkey, and Hungary. Additionally, countries from South and North America will also be participating.
There are medals at stake, but the skills down to intelligence and accuracy are not broken. One of the sports to be held in Kazakhstan is the ancient game called Asık-atı. The idea is to knock out the dice placed in a row from a certain distance. Athletes from Kazakh national team will compete in 4 age categories. Among the 16 girls participating in the women's game version, Besasık is 21-year-old Kamila Danyarova.
This is my first time participating in the Nomad Games. I have been involved in this sport for over 7 years now. I'm a World Cup winner from the 2022 event in Romania, an Asian Championship medalist, and a multiple-time champion of the Kazakhstan Championship. Asık-atı was well developed until the 1990s, but then faded from view. However, it has been rapidly growing in recent years, which is why it has been added to the Nomad Games. We hope the 5th Nomad Games will be a great success and we will meet the expectations of our fellow countrymen.
Traditional sports and games are here to revive nomadic traditions, values, identities, and to contribute to dialogue based on mutual respect. The organizers are hopeful that such supporting events will be a gateway to revitalize ethnic support and cultural values all around the world. Among the participants is a wrestling U23 champion Anıl from Turkey. He is set to compete at the Abaku Race National Martial Arts Game for the first time.
I'm a national athlete in wrestling. I've been practicing ABBA style of wrestling for about 4 years and recently won first place in championship in Turkey. Currently, I'm preparing for the Nomad Games and aim to represent my country with honor. I believe it is crucial to contribute to the recognition of Turkic culture, games and the sports of our ancestors. It's a wonderful opportunity. Personally, it will be a significant experience to connect with people from Turkic-speaking countries and get to know each other better. The Nomad Games are important for Turkic nations. Of course, we're aiming for victory, but gaining experience is also very valuable.
Initially, the Nomad Games have been organized to try to spread them all over the world. Tradition and commitment have been identified as dominant forces in them. Some people say it's an alternative to the Olympics. The game, which began a decade ago, were first hosted by Kyrgyz Republic in 2014, followed by 2016 and 2018. Last year they were held in Turkey. Recognizing the positive impact of the games and revitalizing and promoting traditional sports, participating countries have agreed to rotate hosting duties. Over the past 12 years, what started as a local initiative in Kyrgyz Republic to document and revive traditional sports has expanded into an international event. Balzhan Samigulina, New Time.
And finally, to wrap things up, let us share the story of the oldest media outlet in Kazakhstan. Kazakh, Kazakhstan's largest international news agency, celebrates its 104th anniversary. The history of Kazakh began in 1920 with the establishment of the Orenburg-Turgay branch of the Russian Telegraph Agency. For detailed history of the agency, watch the following report.
For more than a century, the agency has undergone numerous transformations. It was renamed Kazros, Kaztas and Kaztech. Kazinform entered a new stage of its development in the period of the country's independence. In 2002, the Kazakh Information Agency was established, and 20 years later, it took its present form.
The current Kazakh team has successfully adopted this experience, preserved and transformed it in line with modern trends. This breakthrough began when the international agency became part of the Kazakh president's TV and radio complex. This allowed the agency to expand its horizons and assert itself more actively in the market.
In addition to its popular news portal, Kazinform also has a widely followed Telegram channel and an extensive network of correspondents across the country and abroad. Articles covering the most relevant and pressing topics, including politics, economics, education, healthcare, sports and culture, are published in Kazakh, Russian, English, Uzbek and Chinese languages. Moreover, the latest news from Kazakhstan is made more accessible to representatives of foreign diasporas, with content published in both Latin and Arabic alphabets.
We create our exclusive content in English thanks to a team of in-house journalists. We have a strong presence both in the regions and abroad. Our editorial team is taking its first but confident steps to establish a presence in the international information space.
We have good resources and we make full use of them to spread our publication abroad. We write news articles in Chinese. To achieve this, we have accounts on WeChat and Weibo to connect with the East Asian audience. We receive 25-30 million views annually from these platforms. In my opinion, these are good results. However, there is always room for improvement and we are working on expanding our geographical reach.
Additionally, Kazinform is actively collaborating with major media holdings worldwide. The agency attracts new readers with its timeless and high-quality verified information. Balzhan Samigulina, New Time.
That's it for today. All the main news about Kazakhstan and Central Asia you can find here. More special projects about our country you can also watch on Silkway TV channel. So stay tuned and see you next week.